School supplies, the foundation of society. Without them, our future students cannot learn. And there's this cycle where each generation thinks that the one that comes after them is ruined. They're not as smart, they're not educated enough. You lousy kids with them phones! I'm looking at you, Frederick. And that had me thinking, what supplies did Frederick, living in the 1920s, actually use when he was going to school? Since he's claiming he's 10 times smarter than me, let's fact check. So I bought 100 years of school supplies to decide which one is the most elite. Testing, testing, here we go. Let's start with the 1920s. The era of jazz and when school looked more like a silent film than a classroom. And this was the era of the chalk tablet. Oh my gosh. These were used by students before widespread affordable paper was used in schoolhouses. But yeah, students would use these with chalk to write. Let's see how this feels, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I didn't like that noise. Guys, writing the S's are a little annoying. Okay, can you guys read that? And they would use a damp cloth to wipe it away. I could see why classes were using these. Let me do a math problem here really quickly. 6 plus 7 equals 13. Ooh, that's Screech, guys. Can y'all see that? Yeah, so I guess this is what Frederick would use. Freaking old man. I guess these are affordable too, because these would cost like 30 cents retail back in 1920. But in present day, I spent $60 on this thing. Since this was a practical tool at the time, I would rate it 3 horchata plushies out of 5. And speaking of horchata plushies, you can get one online right now. For the next 48 hours, every single thing on my website is half off. I just want to give back to my audience a little bit. Right, Mongo? This is Mongo, by the way. If you know, you know. The 1930s, an era of careful spending and a huge shift on how students would learn. Pulp paper became cheap enough for mass use in schools. And this symbolized the transition from reusable slates to disposable note-taking, which introduced writing tablets and the first notebooks. This is actually from the 1930s, and there's writing on it. Homie's handwriting is actually really good. And you can tell this is old school, because this is all in cursive writing. Can you guys write in cursive, by the way? Let me know in the comments. Hartsville, South Carolina, October 27th, 1937. That's like 88 years ago? There's still one more thing from the 1930s I wanted to talk about, because notebooks weren't all of it. The first books that you can write in also started to emerge. And this is an unused math book from the 1930s. The condition that I found this in is actually really nuts. These are all math problems. No one's ever written in this. Let me answer some of these questions. Let's find one that I feel like I can do. All right, so here we go. Let's fill out this worksheet. Jorge. So we got 97 plus 78 plus 67 plus 49, 63, 76. I'm doing mental math. 31, 34, 40. We carry the 4. So this is 430. Ta-da! Okay, you see this question, guys? The first person I see that answers this correctly in the comments will get a free plushie. But yeah, it's cool seeing that paper is now becoming a widespread thing in the classrooms. And I spent $55 on both of these. They were probably like 5 cents at the time. And out of 5 horchata plushies, I'd rate it 4 stars, because this was actually game-changing. Now, let's teleport to the 1940s, which was the rise of the Peachy folder. It was invented in 1943 by Western Tablet and Stationery Company, which is now known as Mead. You know that brand, right, that all your notebooks and binders have now? Yeah, and these would feature illustrations of athletes, characters, and a bunch of other people. It's pretty much just a standard folder, but it was also commonly known that people would actually draw in or doodle on these. I guess they were pretty customizable, and these were everywhere in the 40s. But honestly, it's just a folder, so I don't know how high I would rate this, but I guess it brought folders to the classrooms, and these were $50. At the time, they were probably like 10 cents. And out of 5 horchata plushies, I would rate them 2.5. Doesn't really impress me. Let's just go to the next decade. The 1950s was the baby boom, drive-ins, and rock and roll. And a company called Aladdin Industries popularized the lunchbox. More specifically, the metal lunchbox. Everyone and your grandpa had one. And this started the era of character branding on school gear. And that's something that is still prominent to this very day. That would represent individuality, and I can imagine all of those kids flexing with their favorite TV shows on their lunchbox. And yeah, there's a lunchbox I managed to get from the 50s. Here we go. And all right, paper. These lunchboxes would come with a matching thermos. It just matches with the lunchbox. How do you open this? Oh, there we go. Ooh, interesting. And this is the cup. You hold it like this, you pour your liquid, your drink, and then you get your sandwich out of here. These things retailed for $2.39 back in the day. And now, some of these have actually gone for thousands of dollars depending on their rarity and condition. Like this Superman one right here actually sold for $17,000. Funny story, these were actually phased out by the mid-1970s because these were actually used in playground fights. I feel like these are just really fun little pop culture moments, and I know the craze was real because I still hear about it till this day. This one did cost me $50, not $17,000. I would give it 3.5 horchata plushies out of 5. Now let's move to the 1960s. The Beatles, space race, and school supplies saw a huge revamp. The first one, ballpoint pens. They became more affordable, practical, and widespread. And this is a pen straight from the 1960s. And the pen is all dried up. I should have known, bro. These are freaking like 70, 80 years old. Or like 60 years old. We're not that old. We're not that old yet. But what better way to pair this pen with a notebook also from the 1960s? East Detroit High School. Nancy, if you're out there, I have your notebook. By this decade, paper has been perfected and is the standard in every single classroom. This was written on January 11th, 1967. You know the number, So honestly, I guess classrooms in the 1960s really weren't that different from classrooms today, which I don't know if is a good or bad thing. However, there's one more difference. May I introduce to you the slide rule. This right here is the OG calculator. So this is how students and engineers would calculate their math. I don't know how to use this. But it said that it can multiply, divide, calculate roots, and logs. And fun fact, NASA engineers actually used these slide rules for the moon landing. This slide rule will cost $10 back in the day, and it costs me $23 now. So with inflation, I feel like it's pretty accurate. And not gonna lie, the 1960s, I feel like there was a huge revamp here with like actual modern day supplies. You still use a ballpoint pen. You still use a notebook. And this is pretty much the father of the calculator. It's called the baby boom for a reason, I guess. So out of 5 horchata plushies, 4.5 for you guys, 60s. Let's fast forward to the 1970s. Disco, colors. So it's a no-brainer to talk about a colorful school supplies, right? And Crayola crayons hit peak popularity throughout the 1970s. And the 64 pack defined generations. And I think I should get my hands on an unopened pack from the 70s. This cost $2.36 back in the day. Don't ask how much it cost me now. It's because what also made it super popular was the built-in sharpener. And I know that you know that a 64 box of crayons defined your status in elementary school. Oh my gosh. Dude. This is also when Crayola introduced some new colors like dandelion and fuzzy wuzzy. And I actually did some research and found a really cool fun fact. The Smithsonian lists the 64 pack as a cultural artifact of American education. I think crayons are essential in classrooms. I would rate it 4. I'd rate it 4. I'd give it a good 4. Happy coloring, guys. Now, we go to one of my favorite decades ever for pop culture and music. The 80s had an amazing aesthetic with video games, music, and movies. Bright neon colors would take over as well. And the school supplies that came out at the time had that 80s charm as well. Because Mead, you remember Mead? They released the Trapper Keeper and it dominated hallways. It literally looks like it came out of the 80s. It was pretty much a binder with the Velcro thing and some Trapper folders. Therefore, it's called the Trapper Keeper. And apparently teachers hated them because of this freaking Velcro part. But there was one thing that teachers hated more at that time. It was the Walkman, guys. It was a portable cassette player, one of the first portable music machines ever. You'd open this, you'd pop a cassette in, you'd close it, hit play, and there you go. Kids will listen to music to help study, do homework, and hopefully concentrate. Because ladies and gentlemen, I'm on this ambitious goal to hit 6.7 million subscribers by 6/7/2026. What are you waiting for? Hit subscribe. And in my eyes, this was revolutionizing. And there's gonna be a little bit of bias for the rating. So I'm gonna give this one 4 horchata plushies out of 5. I'd be such a happy student in the 80s with these things. Let's time travel to the 90s now. An era of the internet, cartoons, and scented markers? Mr. Sketch markers, although invented in the 60s, became a classroom staple in the 90s. Oh, they would say that these fruity scents and vibrant colors encourage creativity. And this is actually a box straight out of the 90s. I'm not sure if they still smell, but let's see. That smelled like an actual permanent marker. That smelled like a Sharpie. Let's see if these things can write. Oh, guys, look how good it writes. Let's see, can I do zoom? Bro, that's a solid, nice, vibrant blue. I'm about to test all of them. Hold up. Subscribe, guys. 6'7" by 6'7". I'm not done yet with the 90s, though. There's one more thing from the 90s I want to share. May I present to y'all Lisa Frank. I know 90s kids, you guys know this brand. She was an artist, and yeah, these folders, they peaked in the 90s. You can tell the 90s was more personality-based, colorful. I'd give these 2 plushie horchatas out of 5. I'm sorry, 90s. The actual 90s I love, but school supplies, come on, come on. Now, it's time for the 2000s. This is the decade that I was born in. The decade of the GameCube, M&M, and flip phones. To all my younger viewers, please don't consider me an unk. But you're not that young if you recognize this. This right here is the TI-84 calculator. Released in 2004, it dominated classrooms. It became a mandatory high school calculator. I have not held one of these in years. And it was an insane machine with the way it can graph, calculate, and run programs. And these are over $100 a pop. I'd rather fail calculus than spend $100 on a calculator. On? But I'm not done yet, because there's one more thing from the 2000s that dominated the 2000s. Voila! Multicolored pens. They would have multiple colors and stuff. We would all try to push the colors at the same exact time too. But the one thing that would annoy me though, was that one person that would use a different color for every freaking letter, or like for every freaking line. So you'd hear this click and clack. So I can imagine why these went out of style a little bit. But for the 2000s, you know what? 4 horchata plushies out of 5. 4 horchata plushies out of 5. Now it's time to move on to the 2010s, baby. The time of Vine, Justin Bieber, Pokemon Go. These were some of the best years of my life. And I spent the entire 2010s in school. So let's talk about the supplies that defined the generation. The most helpful, most useful products known to mankind. I chose the Hydro Flask. Every Visco girl, they would have one of these things. These were an aesthetic everywhere you would go. And I've never owned one of these. I didn't fall for it, by the way. I just got this for research purposes. Just staying hydrated. Bro, if y'all were annoying, I would have just whacked y'all with this thing. And I remember people would customize them by adding stickers everywhere on them. People were indeed hydrated with this bad boy. And there's another thing from the 2010s that I have as well. Ta-da! I managed to get this bad boy. A freaking Chromebook. These were launched in 2011 by Google. They were low cost, efficient, and the one thing that is always seared in my brain, the freaking cart that all of these would be in. I would not be surprised if this was stolen from the school. Oh, it turned on. There's battery.
Screen reader for Chrome OS. If so, press the space bar.
The Chromebook, the Hydro Flask, the 2010s. These are pretty elite, not gonna lie. Especially the Chromebook. 4 out of 5 horchata plushies is what I would give it. I mean, this can go screw itself, not gonna lie. The Hydro Flask can go screw itself. And finally, it's the 2020s, ladies and gentlemen. And I feel like y'all know what I'm already gonna talk about. I can't talk about the 2020s without AI. And I know for a fact this is giving teachers headaches. So that's why I brought my laptop. Because although it's not a physical item, ChatGPT, man, and if only I had it when I was a kid. I did set up the voice thing really quickly before I filmed. So here it is, in all its glory. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, I can hear you loud and clear. Let me know what's on your mind.
Can you write me an essay about a crazy moment in US history that impacted modern society today?
Absolutely, let's dive in. One of the most intriguing and impactful moments in US history that still echoes through modern society is the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. By the early 1960s, the United States was a nation grappling with deep division.
This is such a crazy AI thing. But there's one more thing that I have as well. I found a notebook that that uses AI? Well, this is a Rocket book. So this Rocket notebook is endlessly reusable. I'm literally reading the packaging. And it can be used with any pen in the Pilot Frixion line. So I guess this pen. What it is you write on the notebook, you scan it, it saves it, and then you can just wipe away and you have your whole notebook again. So I just set up the app on my iPad and I just wrote this little thing. So let's just start with a new scan. Did I get it? Review my scan, transcribing. Oh wow, it got it. It transcribed it. Is that it? Why can't I just take a picture of my notebook that already exists? Bro, this is like the craziest cash grab I've ever used. 1 horchata plushie out of 5. Yeah, Frederick might be right. I think we're cooked.